different.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it.
Well, hello again, everyone, and for the second time this week, welcome to another edition of SAT Sports with yours truly, Marcus. On the show today, we're going to preview LSU's first game of the 2023 season against Florida State. But first, let me introduce to you my guest for tonight from Orlando, Florida, where the game will be played. Lifelong Seminoles fan, we got Mr. Todrick G. How you doing today, Todrick?
I'm good, Marcus. Oh, get used to it, because it's going to be crunk up here in Orlando.
I will say this, I never had hate for Florida State, but something about the tomahawk chop, like I've always liked the war chant. It's bone chilling.
Right.
This is coming from an LSU fan. Like, it's pretty cool to see them do that. I think the Kansas City Chiefs do it too.
The Braves do it in Atlanta. Yep.
The Atlanta Braves do it. One of our rival schools, who are the Indians, they do it too, and it's just bone chilling.
Yes. Nothing like that war chant to get you riled up and get you in the mood.
Well, this is a simple question for you. How excited are you that college football is back and we're finally in week 1, where now everyone's playing? We got week 0 in the rearview mirror, which I did catch a bit of games. What about you?
I'm super excited, Marcus. I live for this time of year. It goes without saying. College football, obviously, as you know, in the South, is what we build on, what we live for every Saturday, every Sunday, or whatever. So, super excited. Did catch a couple games. Saw some of the Notre Dame game over there in Ireland when they played Navy, which really wasn't much of a game, but ready now to really kick it off in week 1.
Yeah. So who do you like in the NFL? Are you like a Jags, Bucks, Dolphins, or
I do follow both the Bucks and the Jags, and kind of leaning more towards the Jags this year. So yeah,
that's pretty cool. I kind of stay like homegrown in the state. I'm a Saints fan. Probably the only team I like out the state for baseball. I'm an Astros guy. So
okay,
close to us. But yeah, but you kind of give me like a little FSU lesson here. I mean, well, I'm pretty sure. I think if it's out of them or the Florida Gators, one of them's like the flagship university of the state. But like, what are the whole state like more of? Are they more Noles fans everywhere you turn, or they got Gator fans? Maybe Miami Hurricanes. You got UCF down there in Orlando, so you might see quite a bit of that. I mean,
right. Traditionally, I think this is more so. You see a lot of Florida Gators throughout the state. I think Florida being probably the oldest university in the state, if you will. So, but yeah, they they don't compare to the fan base and the passion for Florida State. Like I say, we definitely love our Noles and definitely the 3 national championships that we have. Each one accompanied with a Heisman Trophy winner, with Chris Winkie. Of course, with Charlie Ward and with Jameis Winston. So definitely looking forward to seeing if we can, maybe add to that mantle. But yeah, definitely the state of Florida has always been, paramount when it comes to college football. Back in the, late 80s, 90s, the Florida State-Miami rivalry was one that would pretty much dictate, who will be playing for the national championship. It was always a 1 versus 2 matchup or a top 5 matchup in the state, usually sometimes coming down to a field goal, unfortunately, for us, where we were missing those field goals. So, yeah, but been a lifelong Florida State fan and definitely excited for this game this week.
Who do you despise the most, the Florida Gators or the Miami Hurricanes?
Florida Gators, Marcus. I hate them with a passion.
I got to say, that's one of our SEC rivals, too. Like, how the SEC works, it's like, everyone in your side, or mostly everyone in your side, is considered like a division rival, kind of like the NFL. But there's always that one team in the East that you play every single year. They do like a cross conference rival, they call it. And for LSU, ours is the Florida Gators. It's the only team in the East we play every single year. Right. And they would do this formation where they would play two teams from the East every year. One would be your East rival, and then they'd rotate the other one around. Like we'll have like Georgia one year, then another year we got like Tennessee, then like another year we got South Carolina or Kentucky, Vanderbilt, all those guys. But we always, every year, either they come to Death Valley or we go to the Swamp. It's always one of the most exciting games to watch. And it's one of them games where I've seen LSU play Florida 4 times in my life, and all 4 times, the first time I saw him play was in 2005.
Okay.
And we won on the last play of the game with a touchdown reception that went 60-something yards.
Oh, wow.
I was at the game in 2007 where Jacob Hester scored it in the end zone, and they thought Tebow was going to, it was the year he won the Heisman, and they were going to pull it off. I was at the massive blowout in 2019 with Joe Burrow, and then the last Florida game I went to was 2 years ago at 11 o'clock in the morning on a hot October Saturday on homecoming, and we shocked everyone. Like, we were not predicted to win that, and they come out dressed like a wannabe Clemson Tiger wearing the all orange combination. All 4 times I left the stadium, it sucks to be a Florida Gator. I don't know who started that. I figured maybe you guys did, or I don't know. That's one chant I like to do every year, especially if we pull it off.
Right. No, they're definitely the most hated in the state. They're quite obnoxious. I have a certain level of respect when it comes to the U, simply because, like I said, as I mentioned, those battles year in, year out. A lot of those guys, when they come from South Florida, from that Miami area, they play together. They know each other or whatever. So there is a certain respect level there. And then you mentioned UCF. Right now is definitely up and coming, obviously, and trying to make themselves the Big 4 in the state versus the Big 3. So that's exciting too.
Yeah, I'll give it to Florida State. They got quite a bit of alumni that played for them, like either I didn't know about or I love so much. I host a wrestling podcast. If you heard from Freddie, Ron Simmons played for Florida State.
Yeah.
Ron Simmons, the first African American world champion, played for Florida State. Jameis Winston, who's currently a New Orleans Saint with us,
right,
could be the backup for Derek Carr, but he loves to be down here. Burt Reynolds played for Florida State, or he went to Florida State.
He went to Florida State. Yep.
Didn't play for him. Went to him, and of course, one of the greatest analysts in all of college football, the legendary Lee Corso.
Lee Corso played at Florida State. Exactly. Yeah. Of course, the one and only Biletnikoff, who the trophy is named after, as far as the best wide receiver in the country, Fred Biletnikoff went to Florida State. So yeah, it's definitely a historic, traditional football program. Definitely really got put on the map by the late, great, rest in peace, Bobby Bowden, who I love dearly, was just one of the greatest in college football to ever do it. And definitely just brought in some of those great stars, the Deons of the world, the Derek Brooks of the world, the Charlie Wards, the list goes on and on. Everybody that went to the pros or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely one of those programs where the talent is going to be there, and we're still seeing it now, with some of the young guys in the NFL.
Yeah, not to mention, y'all had one of the most legendary coaches at the time, Jimbo Fisher, as well.
Yeah, Jimbo, depending on who you ask, is bittersweet with Jimbo. He did get us a national championship, but then at the same time, he also put us in a hole when his departure occurred. So, yeah, it was bittersweet with Jimbo.
So, y'all named y'all stadium after Doak Campbell. Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Well, yeah, he was definitely one of the most famous no's to be in Tallahassee, and definitely was a tremendous honor to have the stadium named after him as well. And then the field was named for Bobby Bowden. Not a lot that I can share with Doak Campbell, but definitely prestigious in that fact that the stadium was named after him.
What's the tailgating experience like in Tallahassee? I always hear about how crazy it gets in Gainesville, but they're going to say that about any SEC school, especially down here in Baton Rouge. But what's the tailgating like in Tallahassee?
It's amazing. I've only been to a couple games in Doak Campbell, but definitely the tailgating experience is just wow. Obviously, the student body and the alumni is really just family oriented. Everyone is like just welcoming as far as just coming and enjoying the atmosphere. You just can't get enough of just the vibe, for being in Tallahassee or whatever. I didn't attend Florida State. I went to HBCU here in Florida. I went to Bethune-Cookman, but definitely,
Yep.
just being able to experience just being at Doak. As sometimes the games in LSU, at Death Valley at night is one of the, I think, greatest experiences or whatever. So you kind of get that vibe as well at Doak.
That's right. Jordan tuning in. What's going on, Jordan? Yeah, oh, look who else is in the comments. Your boy Freddie's tuning in.
What's good, Freddie?
That's right. Yeah. I was gonna say you did attend Bethune-Cookman, which I didn't realize. Like, I know a lot about my college stuff and everything, but I didn't remember that it was in Florida. Like, when I think of an HBCU in Florida, the only one I could think of is Florida A&M. I didn't realize Bethune-Cookman. I guess that's y'all's like arch rival in the
That's
state.
our rival. Yes, exactly. No, definitely. Yeah, Bethune-Cookman is in Daytona Beach, and then of course our rival is there in Tallahassee, as well as the Florida A&M Rattlers. But yeah, definitely.
Do you have a special name for that rivalry, or do y'all play it like at a neutral site?
Yeah. It's the Florida Classic. And of course I'm going to be biased, but I think that's one of the biggest HBCU Florida Black historic games in the country. It does kind of rival the Bayou Classic with Southern and Grambling. It's definitely on that level. But yeah, here in Orlando we have that game every November, Florida Classic, and it's huge.
It's nice. Yeah, because I've I don't know why. Like, when I first saw the Wildcats, like Bethune-Cookman, I thought they were like from like Kentucky or like South Carolina or something. Like, I didn't realize they were from Florida also. And I'm like, oh yeah, they're from Daytona, but they're in the MEAC conference.
Well, over the last couple seasons, they both jumped over to the SWAC.
Okay.
So they're now in the Southwestern Athletic Conference with Grambling and Southern and Jackson State and those historic Black colleges.
So basically, the SWAC is like the SEC of HBCU, you could say.
You could say that now. Yeah, definitely. Like I say, when Florida A&M was getting ready to make that move, Cookman was like, yeah, well, we're going to be right behind you. So they're both now in the SWAC battling it out with those schools.
Well, it's like that's the only two conferences I've ever heard of in like HBCU. Like, I know they got some all over the country, but it's like they only define like those schools like in the SWAC or in the MEAC, because like that's the only two that basically play for a national championship when they have the Celebration Bowl every December to kick off Bowl Mania. So
correct. Mainly because most of your most prestigious HBCUs are going to come generally from those two areas. With the MEAC, you have Howard University, you have Norfolk, you have some of those schools that are really well known as far as the names go. Florida A&M, Bethune-Cookman.
Let's see. I know like North Carolina A&T's one, South Carolina State,
Exactly.
Charlotte. I don't know. Like, when the SWAC, I mean, yeah, we have two very known HBCUs in my state. Like, that's got two rich histories. Like, when it comes to one of probably, if not maybe the greatest band in HBCU, you think of the Human Jukebox from Southern. Or if you want to talk about a rich football program, you think of like Grambling. Like,
exactly.
If somebody ever asks me who is Eddie Robinson, I'm going to say, I tell them Eddie Robinson was the Nick Saban of HBCU.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, Eddie Robinson was a great when it came to college football and what he did, not only on the campus of Grambling, but definitely just what he did overall as his character and the man. Being actually my fraternity brother as well. I'm an Alpha, so Eddie Robinson definitely represented the fraternity well as in that aspect. So yeah, Grambling is definitely one of those schools within that state that represented. So yeah.
Yeah, I was lucky to see the Human Jukebox twice. Once against McNeese, because like I'm also a McNeese fan down here. Like, okay. I'm on the McNeese Cowboy Raging Cajun border where I live. So like,
right.
With overall people loving LSU on the outside, as that backup second team, like you'd be a Florida State and a Bethune-Cookman guy. I'd be like LSU and a McNeese guy. Then they got some down here that are LSU and Raging Cajuns, which they don't ever get along. It's just jealousy because UL and LSU have only played 27 times in football, and LSU has won every single matchup.
Okay.
So we're 27-0 against the Cajuns. Now, if it's basketball or baseball and softball, then they come out their shell and want to talk. But yeah, I've seen the Human Jukebox twice. I saw them against McNeese 4 years ago, and last year we hosted Southern at home in our home opener, and I got to see Human Jukebox once again. And then this year, week 2, our home opener, we're hosting Grambling. So this will be the first time ever I get to see the world famous GSU marching band at halftime, and I'm looking forward to it. I know it's going to be tremendous. Those bands bring the party.
Yes, there's nothing like a show during halftime at a HBCU game. You mentioned obviously the Human Jukebox, and I will say there's some debate over that, depending on where you are. Obviously I'm going to stick with my school and our band, the Pride of Bethune-Cookman. And of course, you're going to always have the Marching 100 as far as fam being up there as well. So I think this is going to be the first year this fall where they're actually going to have like a national championship of bands. So hopefully all the top bands will be represented during that, and we'll definitely see who comes out on top. But definitely, yeah, you can't compare to any of those bands and their performances at halftime.
See, I'll play it like at Camping World where this game's being played. That's what they do, correct. The rivalry.
Yeah.
So speaking of this is going to be the 11th total meeting between these two rich schools that are no strangers to national championships and whatnot. But y'all dominate this series. Y'all have won 8 of the 10 matchups, and y'all have had a current 5-win streak against LSU at one point.
Right. Yeah. And it was all like just coming together last year and one hell of a game. That game obviously was between two schools that were trying to get back on track as far as LSU and Florida State, and definitely set the tone for the season. Even though LSU came out with the L, and definitely the program picked up stride towards the end of the season. And then conversely, Florida State started out pretty good, but then had that bad little stretch in the middle of the season where we dropped 3. And then finish strong with 6 straight. So definitely this is going to be another kickoff with both teams now being highly ranked, in the top 10. So can't wait.
Yeah, game's so big, they just gave it its own day of the week like last year. Like, I guarantee you, if it had been a Saturday matchup, you knew College Game Day was going to go to Orlando over Charlotte.
Right. And I'm gonna let you know, Marcus. Florida State had his stamp on Labor Day weekend. Traditionally, we've always played like on that Monday night when we were, holding our own, and obviously every year being highly ranked. We would have that Monday night locked down, whether it be, playing Alabama or playing, somebody else from the ACC.
I remember one year y'all played like Virginia Tech on a Monday night or something like that, or maybe an SEC team on a Monday.
Exactly. So now that they've moved that game to Sunday, we kind of now locked in that spot on Sunday night, which I actually love because that means all eyes are on us. That's like the biggest game that's that day. And quite honestly, of those matchups we may kind of talk about this weekend, it's still one of the biggest matchups this weekend. So yeah.
Tell you what, I was there last year for that game. And at one point, I got so furious with our performance. I literally walked out of the game in the third quarter when y'all had, after Mason Smith dropped that second ball on a punt return. After he dropped that second one, I threw myself. I said, I'm fucking out. I'm done. Like we are gonna. I was talking shit all the way to the truck. I said, we're gonna fucking suck. And halfway, right when I get to Baton Rouge, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go turn the radio. I'm gonna turn my Sirius XM on and just see how bad it is now. I look, I'm like, oh, now we're playing football. And then I hear they score a touchdown. They're down 24-23. They have a chance to tie it, and they gets a field goal blocked, and it's game over. Florida State beat LSU, and I'm like,
yeah,
motherfucker. I said, we are gonna. And then some about that loss, it was like down the road. Yeah, we had 3 losses that season, but like Tennessee, I was kind of a head scratcher. I went to that Tennessee game where we got decimated by Hendon Hooker and all them. I was like, we're not going to beat Alabama this year. There's no fucking way. Like, yeah, we
Right.
beat Florida, we beat Ole Miss. Like, they had us underdogs against Ole Miss, but it was one of those wins like we needed that. But I was not
Mhm.
surprised we were going to beat Ole Miss because we usually beat them every so often. But
Right.
tell you what, I was at that Alabama game where we won in
Yes.
overtime. That was
Yes.
the greatest day of my life. Plus the fact the Astros won the World Series 15 minutes later.
Oh, wow. Right.
I'm telling you,
Right.
you could not see grass on that field when we rushed it. That was
Mhm.
worth the what was it, a $50,000 or $100,000 fine for the second time you rush a field?
Right.
It's an NCAA rule, which
Yeah.
that definitely they had it paid off in less than 24 hours. Like I heard, like Shaquille
Exactly.
O'Neal made a big donation. All these Joe Burrow made a big, Jarvis Landry all made donations. I'm like,
Right, right, right. No, definitely. I think, like I say, once again, the way you guys ended the season, obviously by beating Alabama and securing the SEC West, and then being able to play for the SEC championship. I think that's why there's still so much anticipation going into this season. Not like I said, not just for you guys, but for Florida State as well. And what better way to, to get it going by, playing head to head once again, back to back here in Orlando on Sunday.
yeah. Speaking of that, how's that looking? Because I'm hearing rumors that there's supposedly the game could be moved with that hurricane making landfall. Which I don't know how bad Orlando's really getting it. I saw Tampa was like a main target, and Jacksonville was supposed to get it. They kind of had Orlando not in that eye track, but they were going to get a lot of rain where it could flood the city. Like, what's the talk of what y'all weather could look like the next couple of days?
No, I think we're going to be okay as far as that. I haven't really seen anything as far as, the game being in jeopardy, or any, serious damage or anything as far as to Camping World, anything like that. So I think everything should be good to go for kickoff at 7:30. And each year now, the last couple of years, for our kickoff, I usually have this big hoorah at my house or whatever. Freddie saying,
Said
no,
we
we
good.
good. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'll be getting ready to just have a big shindig and get things kicked off here as well. So no, we should be good, and thankfully, the storm should be definitely in our rearview.
Yeah, I have been in that stadium one time. I went to back when it was called the Capital One Bowl. I went to the 2008
The
matchup
Citrus
between
Bowl, yeah.
the 2000 Capital One Bowl between Florida and Michigan, and
Okay.
we were all rooting for Florida. But then when we were at Universal Studios one day, my girlfriend at the time and my sister and my mom met some Michigan football players on a roller coaster, and they
Okay.
were like, "Oh, they're so nice. We're going to root for Michigan." I'm like, I'm picking Tim Tebow in the SEC, and what happened? Florida lost the game to Michigan, and then they look at
Wow.
me like I'm going to be upset. Like, I don't care. We're playing in the
Right.
national championship in a couple of days. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
it's just another game I lost in my little thing I do every year. Like when I do my Bowl Mania picks, there's just
Right.
another loss in the day. So
Okay.
Freddie just said it was a normal day today in Orlando, which
Yeah,
most-
just some rain, just that came through. But let me ask you this though, Marcus. Obviously, as you mentioned, you're definitely a diehard LSU fan, and college football kicked off, like I say, last week. But this is really the official, start. Do you watch other games? Do you tune into other teams and other players?
absolutely. When I am not working on a Saturday, I get up right before college. So I'm in Central Time, so college game day starts at 8 a.m. for me. I'll get
Okay.
up about 7:45. I do my pregame rituals, and I start getting my coffee ready. I'm already ducked in my purple and gold, or if they're on a bye, or if I'm going to watch like McNeese or something, I might have my McNeese gear on. But
Okay.
most of the time, I'm in purple and gold. I'm watching college game day. When they do the Saturday selections, I type my selections into on Facebook, like if I'm the celebrity guest picker. And I
Nice.
always get a lot of comments because people like, "Oh, you're stupid if you're picking this over that," or like, "Oh, I'm picking this team over that." And
Right.
when it's 11 a.m. to noon, it depends who I'm watching. I usually might watch a Big 10 game or a Big 12 game if it's good.
Right.
I always watch the 2:30 game on SEC. Even if it's Vernon Lundquist and them calling it, I will still watch it. Most of the time we have night games, but if they have an 11 a.m. game, I'm gonna watch it. And when that's
Right.
over, I might go watch McNeese if they're at home. I'll drive the next 30 minutes up the road, or if they got something bigger on, I might stay home and watch it. Like when week 2 comes, unfortunately, I'm gonna be in Baton Rouge for the Gremlin game. But if we had a road game that week, I would have stayed home to watch Texas and Alabama to see if Texas is ready to grow a pair of balls and come to the SEC, or they're going to get another ass whooping from Nick Saban and them. And I hate having to pick them, but I always like to pick with my brain instead of my
Right.
heart.
Right.
And stuff
Okay.
like that.
Well, good. So that means you're definitely of the same vein because, like I said, I love college football, and I pretty much have that same routine. I'm up Saturday morning, getting everything together in the house, and sitting down and I'm watching game day, and just kind of getting all the information and all the festivities from around the country, as far as those guys when they're presenting or whatever. And then Saturday is I'm locked in all day.
Well, and usually depends who, like, what team it is and from that conference. Like, I don't like to watch Pac-12 games. I'm not a Pac-12 fan, but
Okay.
I will watch the Oregon-Washington rivalry because that's the best rivalry that come out of that conference before they jump to the Big Ten. Occasionally I'll watch USC play like Notre Dame or something.
Right.
Sometimes I'll watch their rival with UCLA. But like, if I'm gonna watch an ACC game, like I'll watch a Florida State game, or I'll watch like Clemson or North Carolina or
Right. Okay.
teams like that. That's usually the only teams I kind of follow from the ACC. Which what's the talk lately with the ACC? Like, I've been hearing rumors that they were going to go bankrupt, and these teams want to jump here, and they're talking about teams like Florida State and Clemson want to go to the SEC, but the SEC don't want to add anybody because we already got 16 teams now when you throw Texas and Oklahoma in next year, which is too much.
You could do an episode strictly on college realignment, and the whole shift and the possibility of the super conferences, which are, going to be inevitable pretty soon, Marcus. But right now the ACC is scrambling. They're trying to, hold serve, if you will, because unfortunately, the member schools and this grants of rights that they signed, I think back in 2015, 16. That's going to last till 2036. They're locked in, and it's just causing just a whole bunch of contentment and resentment, I think, amongst definitely Florida State and the conference, and then Clemson as well, whereas they're threatening and wanting to leave. The latest update right now is that the ACC is just trying to get other schools added to the conference, whereas the Pac-12 is about to die. They're trying to get Stanford, Cal, and SMU to join.
It just wouldn't make sense geographically. I mean, it already don't make sense. Like USC and UCLA and Oregon and Washington going across the country to play like Rutgers or Penn State or somebody like that. Like, I said the same when West Virginia signed with the Big 12. I'm like, why didn't they go to the ACC or something? Go like just play teams in your like coastal side of the area.
Yeah, I think
it's all about money. It's the NIL. It's all that shit.
We're seeing the just a huge shift, a huge change in the landscape, and unfortunately, as far as the region goes, those are for the most part going to be non-existent. Same with some of those rivalries that happen within the storied rivalries in the conferences are going to fall to the wayside as well. I mean, look at when Texas and Oklahoma jumping ship to the SEC. You lose some of those battles that were happening in the Big 12, So right now, I think this is the state of college football. As you mentioned, it is money driven, it is TV driven, and TV rights and everything. So we're just going to see where we end up, which I do think is going to be probably three or four super conferences.
What's some of their Florida State's like conference rivals, outside of like Miami and Clemson? Like, what's some other ACC rivals of y'all's?
Well, obviously goes without saying Florida, who I hate with a passion. I hate them with a passion, Marcus. But definitely, as you mentioned, Miami is one of our story rivals.
Is that the Seminole War Canoe Trophy or something like that? Like, yeah, that's what I thought. I remember that in the college football video games.
Exactly. I will also say one school for me definitely has been a thorn in our side, where it's not really a rivalry, but there have been years where they really stuck it to us. Is North Carolina State, the Wolfpack.
Okay.
From back in the day when Phillip Rivers was there as a quarterback, even when Scott Glennon was there, they've had opportunities to come to Doak, or where we go play them in their stadium, and they would beat us. And it was just to be like, like we were dominating the ACC, but then something about North Carolina State, where they will always just sometimes have our number. So definitely within the conference, those that's one of the teams. But I would say those would be the main ones.
Yeah, I mean, us, it's like we kind of have too many, but we ain't got like the same amount like Notre Dame has. Like, we got like Alabama, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Auburn, and Florida.
Right.
That's probably the only ones we still have. I don't consider Mississippi State really a rival. They just say it because they're in the West with us, and
Right.
their time. I can't remember I think the last time I remember them beating us was 2014 when they had Dak Prescott. That was the last time they beat us. Was almost 10 years ago. We've won like the last few meetings. There were some that were close, but it's like 90% of the time when we play Mississippi State, it's like it's either an early start of the season or it's an early kickoff. But Ole Miss is like we played for the Magnolia Bowl Trophy, and they had that's their oldest rival in the SEC. What's up, Dylan? But the only rival we don't play no more is Tulane, which I kind of been the season they had last year. Holy shit, where they beat freaking Caleb Williams and USC in the Cotton Bowl, and that's like one team I'm gonna secretly keep my eye on to see if they can pull out another successful above 500, win 10 games or more, win your conference, and win like another New Year's Six. I want to see if they can do it again. They impressed me.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe they got Tulane ranked this year. If I'm not
24.
Mistaken. Yeah, in the top 25. Okay, yeah.
They said like they said it's like in the first time in like probably 100 years or something, like two Louisiana teams ranked in the top 25, and it's LSU and Tulane, which yeah, because you don't really get that from like the Raging Cajuns, or you don't get that from like UL Monroe, something like that. This is Tulane kind of shocked us there. They deserved it. I feel like this should be a little higher, but maybe at least like 19 or 18 at least, like not in the 20s.
Well, things are going to get really interesting, not to cut you off, next year when the playoff jumps to 12 teams. So now those schools that are outside the Power Five will now really have those opportunities to, try to climb up the rankings and get within that top 12. And I can't wait for that. I think that's going to really open things up and, of course, add to more debate and controversy as well. So I like that.
Yeah. Well, outside of this game, what are some other games this season you're like hyped for, whether if you're going to host a big watch party or want to make the game?
I'll be honest, like I say, the ACC, obviously I do follow most of those games, but definitely, the SEC is where the power lies right now with Georgia and the Alabamas and the LSUs of the world. So I tune into all the big games when it comes to the SEC, and I'm looking at you guys' schedule. Y'all do have some lined up as well this year. So I'll be definitely tuned into those. I think for the most part, this year is going to be really fun because the Heisman race, and some of those guys that are going to be contending for the Heisman. And then, of course, we always have those teams that are generally overhyped, the Ohio States of the world, so even sometimes the Michigans of the world, where they start out the gate, and then sometimes when they really face a really good competition, they then start to show their true colors. But yeah, it's going to be a really good season. So it's a lot of games I have on the radar.
Give me like a record prediction you can give for Florida State in your heart, like even if you want to be biased.
Like I try to be really objective. It's hard because like I say, I love my Seminoles, but I really try to keep it realistic and not be that fanatical fan, if you will. A really good season for us, Marcus, is one we have to win the ACC this year. And with the ACC getting rid of the divisions, there's no more longer the Atlantic and the Coastal. Is now the top two teams will play each other at the end of the year in Charlotte. So with that being said, the Clemson game, the end of September is going to be huge. But if we lose or whatever that looks like, all we still have to do is still finish 1 or 2 in the conference. And probably be playing Clemson twice this year. So with that being said, like I say, if we get anywhere close to 10 or 11 wins, I think we're on track to be where we want to be, which is possibly win the ACC and then be a playoff contender. So I'm thinking 11 wins this year.
Well, it's definitely not going to be like 2019 for us because there's no way that they're going to let us walk away undefeated in the SEC again. Like, because I feel like there's two, it's two for me. Like, it's that Alabama game for sure.
Right.
And it's that Texas A&M game. It's like lose one, win the other. If we lose to Alabama, we're going to beat A&M. If we
You're
beat
worried
Alabama,
about Texas A&M?
they can be sneaky. Like I thought we had them last year, and they come back and won last year. I'm like, there was no way in hell we controlled our own destiny after beating Alabama. Like we could have. Right. We could have lost. We could have beat A&M and lost to Georgia in the SEC and could have still snuck in the playoffs at least. But that loss to A&M shit us out of the playoff picture. We were, or at least a shot at a New Year's 6, because it was a big gamble. Like if we beat A&M but lose to Georgia, we might not make the playoffs, but we could make a New Year's 6.
Right.
I said, no better than that. But that A&M loss has said, okay, you can kiss the college football playoffs goodbye, and you can most likely kiss a New Year's 6 goodbye. I said we could get one or the other back if we beat Georgia, which I knew we didn't have a chance, but they hung in with them. They managed to have Georgia give up 21 or 27 points. Like it was a blowout. Like I think they won by like 4 touchdowns, but we scored at least 3 or 4 times. But I was impressed with them. I said they came and fought hard. They didn't quit. It got us a trip to the Citrus Bowl in Orlando where we decimated Purdue. Like, and they talked all that shit, saying Purdue was going to upset LSU, and it was I think it was like 62-7 or something like that. We had the most points scored in that bowl season until Georgia beat TCU.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No.
And y'all played in the same stadium too, but y'all played that other bowl game, and I think y'all won.
The Cheez-It Bowl, we beat Oklahoma, which ended up still being actually another good game. That's one thing about my Florida State knows. We will sometimes make games a little more closer, and a lot more anxiety than they have to be. But we ended up finishing out strong, which has got us to our 10-win season. Thus, all the hype, all the anticipation, all the excitement behind this season, which is not going to be for nothing. You're going to hear it. You hear it here first. Florida State very well could be in the national championship.
What are 3 keys to victory, you say, for Florida State to pull a win off this Sunday?
Good question. I think it's really going to be, 1, the battle in the trenches. Your defensive line is stout and highly decorated. Our defensive line now is actually going to bring back some quality players, Jared Verse, Patrick Payton. We got some guys that were injured coming back, Fabian Lovett. So I think the battle in the trenches, obviously in the old offensive lines, can they hold up, is going to be 1. Turnovers. We know last year there were a couple turnovers, as you mentioned, the fumbles that happened on the kickoffs or the punts, and our turnover there at the goal line or whatever. Turnovers will always be a key, because in college, Big Mo, that momentum is huge, and definitely can swing things in either direction. And which quarterback can handle the pressure? Can Jalen step up and deliver the W, or can Jordan show his experience and deliver the W? So I think the spotlight will be on those 2 guys. And I think those will be the 3 keys.
I'll say for LSU, I'll say for, speaking of Jaden Daniels, he airs it out, for a lot of passing. Harold Perkins letting it loose. I got to say that too. And it could be a scary thought. Or winning in the trenches, I'm going to say. But we need all the help we can get, because, the man who kind of cost us the game last year will not be playing this Saturday. Mason Smith is out with the game. I think he's suspended. And they just announced earlier this morning our running back, Emery, is out too.
Right. What's happening with that?
I have no idea. I said, put Trey Holly in the game. Shit, I put our 5-star recruit we signed out of Farmerville, Louisiana. Let him take some snaps, but I don't know. Hey, we got our chief of commander. We got Jaden Daniels playing. That's all that matters. Brian Kelly got a plan. I just don't know what it is yet. I've been tuning into the Hey Fight podcast to see what that plan is, and I haven't heard nothing yet.
Okay, it's going to be a battle, Marcus. This is really going to be a battle.
They had it ranked number 2 for the top 10 games of the 2023 season, because it's 5 versus 8. It's a top 10 matchup. You don't get really that a lot week 1, and you see this like late in the season, or you could see it like in the playoffs, or could see it in a New Year's 6.
Correct.
But In your heart, give me your honest opinion, a score prediction. If you have Florida State winning, what's the final score in your opinion?
With the additions that we got on offense, with some of the guys that came in the transfer portal, one Keon Coleman that transferred from Michigan State, Jaheim Bell, the tight end that transferred from South Carolina. We got Johnny Wilson still there, 6'7", as I call him. Offensively, if your secondary isn't ready, Marcus, it could be crazy. So Florida State wins. If the offense is clicking, Trey Benson is raising hell. I say 35-24.
That's a fair score. Okay. I see it maybe being a little lower than that. I think it could be a defensive battle, but we'll see a little bit of scoring in the middle of the game. I'm going to go with like a LSU winning 21-17.
Okay. Definitely that would be defensive if definitely y'all hold us to 17 points with what we're expecting from this offense this year. So yeah, I can see that.
I see it being a close game. I don't with how big and anticipated this could be. I don't see it being a blowout either way. Whoever wins, it's going to be like real close. I don't see it covering the spread either. They got looking at the lineup, they got LSU minus 2.5. I don't see them covering. It's going to be they're going to win by more than that.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe we were the slight underdogs last year as well. So I just take that for what it's worth.
All right, so before we close out, it's something I like to do. I'm going to start doing on this show. We're going to make a few predictions here. I know there's way too many games every week. There's probably like 80 games or something. We're not predicting 80-some games. We might predict like maybe 15 at least, maybe the most, or something like that. Like I always like to look at like the primetime games if they're big enough, or like any Power 5 matchup or big conference matchup. Okay. So like we got some games tomorrow, but of all the games they got, there's two worth watching I want to make a prediction for. One's a rematch from, I think it was last year. We got Florida versus Utah.
Yes. Just saw the news where it looks like Cam Rising may not be playing for Utah. Obviously, their quarterback is still trying to come back from the ACL injury that he incurred last season, I think, in their bowl game. So, yeah, I'm not big on Florida. I don't know what Graham Mertz is going to bring to them, the transfer from Wisconsin. I'm going with Utah. One of my frat brothers, his son is one of the running backs there at Utah from Lakeland. One time, shout out Jalen. So yeah, I like Utah in that game. Let's call it 21-14.
Oh, you don't have to do a score prediction. I'm just picking this straight up here. But
I like Utah.
I don't know. I mean, I want to. And I'm not being disrespectful when I say I want to pick Florida just because it's an SEC team, but I don't know if Florida is going to have it in their game this year. I mean, they might have a mid-season, and this could be the start of that. I mean, they're unranked. Utah's ranked 14th. They are a heavy favorite at home, 70% favorite. It's like you never know these days. We could see Florida just wake up and be like, we're not getting downgraded like that. And I think it's Billy Napier, the former Raging Cajun head coach. It's his second season with the Gators. So I see this one being close too. I'll give it to Utah. I'm gonna pick Utah in a close game.
Okay, cool.
But if Florida wins, I won't be upset. I'll just be like, well, I should have picked them. But hey, I'm gonna just go with Utah. If it had been in Gainesville, I'd have probably picked the Gators. But we do have a Week 1 conference matchup, Big Ten game, Nebraska versus Minnesota.
Nebraska got a nice little transfer quarterback from Georgia Tech as their quarterback this year. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. They have a new coach, Brett Rule, or whatever his name was, from Carolina. So with that being said, I know Minnesota has a really good coach, and I'm not sure where that game's being played, but I'm gonna go with Minnesota.
They're playing it in Minnesota, so. I heard some stuff about Nebraska. They had some trouble issues, so I'm gonna give this one to Minnesota as well. I'm gonna pick one game from Friday. We got Louisville versus Georgia Tech. Unfortunately, I don't know why they changed the sponsor. It used to be called the Chick-fil-A kickoff game in Atlanta, but now it's the Aflac kickoff game. So they're playing it at Mercedes-Benz, home of the Falcons. So an ACC matchup: Louisville and Georgia Tech, and your boy Freddie's picking Nebraska. Pull it off.
Oh wow. He just want to go left. Yeah, I guess Affleck cut the bigger check rather for that kickoff there, Marcus. So we get ready for the Affleck. But I like Louisville. I think Louisville comes out. They're quiet as kept. The ACC they kind of a little dark horse this year outside of the kind of the big three. Florida State, Clemson, and North Carolina being mentioned. So watch out for Louisville. I like them this game.
Yeah, I'm going with I'm gonna pick Louisville also. I think it'll be a good game. Georgia Tech could be kind of surprising. I gotta throw this one here quick. We'll see if their season could start off hot. Tulane hosting South Alabama.
Ooh. Number 24 team ranked in the country. I'm going with Tulane.
Yeah. I don't say that other bad word with the word roll, but I can say roll wave if I want. I won't say that other bad word. That can be offensive to other people. One team I've been a fan of because they rep my city, but this is Houston's first season in the Big 12. They're going to start off with a local team. They got UTSA at home.
Wow. Okay. Nice. Yeah, I think Houston making that jump along with UCF, Cincinnati, and I think BYU
yep,
to the Big 12. So so this would be a good way to start out just the season on a good note. So I'd go with Houston.
I'm picking Cougs as well, and then they're also going to add Arizona State, Colorado's coming back, and there's one more team. Utah. Yep,
exactly.
Speaking of TCU, this is all I've been seeing advertised. Colorado's first game of the season with Coach Prime. They've been playing MC Hammer out the ass.
Exactly.
They're coming to Fort Worth to play TCU. Can Coach Prime make a change in Boulder? Or will the Horned Frogs start off the season hot because they have been shit talked since that national championship blowout, and they are angry. They're ready to take it out on Prime. Prime's coming back to the Dallas area, but not as a cowboy. Well, he's coming dressed like a cowboy.
He's gonna be dressed like a cowboy, right? Yeah. This game, is gonna be amazing. 12:00 kickoff. Obviously, prime time is he has that effect. We know what he brings to the table. But this year is going to be a kind of a rough start. It's going to be a lot of hype, but it's going to be a rough start. And this game is going to be tough out the gate. But I'm going TCU. Freddie said Colorado.
Yeah, I'm going with TCU also. I mean, I got to give them some credit for trying, even though they didn't have it. I thought they had a chance, but the way that halftime, I said, no, Georgia is just too desperate.
Oh, yeah.
They used it all to beat Michigan in that playoff game, which I had Michigan winning.
Okay.
No disrespect to TCU, but all right, Virginia and Tennessee.
Ooh. I like Rocky Top. Outside of my Florida State Seminoles, I like Tennessee, except for that 1 year we lost him in the national championship, but I digress. Tennessee. I think Tennessee, what they got going on, the recruiting that they got going, the coach obviously was a former UCF coach, Heupel, and what he got going on, and like I say, the quarterback play. I think they're clicking right now. So Tennessee.
If this were a basketball game, I'd probably pick Virginia. But I'm gonna go with Rocky Top also. Tennessee wins this one. I'm only gonna throw this one because there were talks about possibly the Pac-12 could line with the Mountain West and call it the Pac-West, but Boise State taking on Washington.
Ooh, another good one out the gate. A lot of hype with their quarterback, Michael Penix Jr., as far as being a Heisman hopeful. I did catch a couple games with him. He's electric. He definitely has some skills and some athleticism there. I think they hold serve, so I like Washington.
Yeah, I'm going with Washington also. All right, West Virginia and Penn State. And this is the start of something new. Like Big Ten's got to deal with NBC. Like now they're going to be doing like Big Ten like night or something. Like I've been seeing an advertisement. Like they're going to have like a primetime game of the week at night for the Big Ten on NBC when Notre Dame's not playing at night. So this is the start of that. Like, so this new thing the Big Ten's doing. So, and we're starting it off with West Virginia and Penn State.
All right. Well, as I mentioned a little earlier, sometimes we get these teams that are always highly ranked and battling, but then they kind of fall serve. And Penn State is in one of those situations each year where they have to battle Ohio State and Michigan, and they can never really get to the mountaintop because they have to go through those two programs. But this particular game, I like their coach, so I'm riding with Penn State. Go Nittany Lions.
Yeah, it's a Saturday night in Happy Valley. It's possibly a whiteout game too. But I always despise when they say Happy Valley is the best place to play at night when you got Death Valley with Garth Brooks playing in the background.
Hands down is Death Valley LSU at night. I think that's the most electric atmosphere ever for college football.
But I got Penn State in this one too. But college game day is going to the Queen City. They're going to Charlotte at the Vault, Bank of America Stadium, the Duke's Mayo Classic. We get the Battle of the Carolinas. We get North Carolina versus South Carolina. A bowl like an SEC ACC kickoff matchup. Tar Heels Gamecocks. Who's starting off with the W?
Well, maybe this is where we split because right now we're batting 1,000, you and I, Marcus. So I think this one, Drake May, another Heisman hopeful, definitely in the conference. I still don't think he's better than Jordan Travis, but I'm biased. But we'll see. But that game, I think, is going to be a good matchup. They definitely got a nice little quarterback there at South Carolina as well. But I think out the gate, this one's going to be Tar Heels.
Yeah, if this were a basketball game, I would say the Tar Heels because I'm a Tar Heels fan for basketball.
Likewise.
I grew up a Michael Jordan guy, and I grew up a Vince Carter fan, watching him play with the Tar Heels. So, but
excuse me, Spencer
Rattler, come on, that kid can. That Tennessee upset, like this dude can be something. Yeah, he played around at he started at Oklahoma, then now he's with the Gamecocks. He's just a kid. I think he's from Arizona or Nevada.
Yeah, something like that.
I watched his show on Netflix, QB1, where they do like three of the top high school players in the country. They did the same with old boy from Bishop Gorman.
Okay,
that player too. But no, I'm gonna go with the SEC on this one. I'm gonna go with South Carolina. They could be a surprising team, but not surprising enough to clinch the East because I still have Georgia clinching the East. They'll either play us again or they'll probably play Alabama again when that time comes.
Right. Okay.
All right. One more game, and we got Monday night, Clemson and Duke, an ACC matchup. Not a neutral site game. They're playing this at Duke.
You know what? I've been going back and forth with this game. Just because I despise Clemson and Dabo right now, and Duke actually is another ACC school that's kind of sneaky good with their program and kind of up and coming. I know they got Cade Klubnik there at Clemson, who's not Trevor Lawrence, by the way, but he's talented. Definitely has some skills. Their defense is pretty good, but I'm thinking Duke may surprise out the gate. So I'm saying Duke in a squeaker on Monday night. There you go.
I don't know if Clemson is really back. That's been they've been saying that since Trevor Lawrence got drafted to the Jags and everything. And they had a decent season last year, but they got humiliated in the Orange Bowl by Tennessee. But I see no matter who wins this, I think Duke hangs on. If Clemson wins, it's going to be really close. Same on Duke's side, but I'm going to just pick Clemson in this one. A real tight game. Could be by a field goal. Could be by 1 point. I think the fact that Duke's hosting it, this is going to feel like a championship game to them. Right. So it's going to be close here. That'll do it for the week one. We'll kind of do some conference predictions here. I guess you're sticking with the nose to win the ACC, right?
Yes. That is one of the goals I think Mike Norvell and the team has for this year is to win that championship because that does set the stage as far as where this program and can get back to and where this team can go. So yeah, ACC champions, Florida State all day.
Who they beat? Who they play?
It's going to be a repeat matchup. We play Clemson twice, so if we happen to take the L early, then we'll beat them when it matters. So we'll beat Clemson in the ACC championship.
I could see Florida State in the championship game. If they play Clemson, it could go either way. But I had them I don't know how good Miami could look or how Pitt looked. I remember who played in them games in the past. But I see Florida State winning the ACC. But it's just I don't know if they're going to play Clemson. They could play a Clemson, maybe a Miami or a Pitt. I don't know.
Mhm.
Are they doing it by Atlantic and Coastal, or it's just
No,
like
the
the top two
divisions
teams?
are gone. Yeah,
So
no more
divisions are gone.
divisions.
All
Yep.
right.
So it's the top two teams. Exactly.
All right. All right. How about the Big Ten? Who do you see winning that one?
It'll be the two big boys again. That'll be battling for the one side. I guess the north or the east or whatever
No,
for the Big Ten.
I
I
think
think they
it's
do
North.
east and west.
They do North. Yeah, I think it's East and West. It's not
Right.
North and South. I don't
Yeah. So
know.
east west. So, Michigan right now, Harbaugh has them humming. They have Ohio State's number. Not a big Ryan Day fan or whatever. He does have some quality talent. Like I say, both schools do hell of a recruiting because they come to Florida and sometimes snipe some guys here in Florida and get up there or whatever. But I like Michigan to beat Ohio State, but then to play against in the Big Ten, they're probably going to play on the other side. I would say Wisconsin. But yeah,
They played Purdue last year in the championship. The year before
okay,
that, they played Wisconsin. Like
okay,
it's so. That's the big question: is can Michigan win 3 in a row over Ohio State? It was shocking they did it back to back because
right,
Ohio State is just anxious to get a damn win over them. I mean, it'll probably come out of between Michigan and Ohio State. Whoever wins that rivalry is going to win the Big Ten.
of
But
course,
I hate Ohio. Ohio State is one of probably like 4 or 5 teams I hate with a passion. I hate
really,
Ohio. I hate Ohio State. I hate Alabama. I hate
mm-hmm.
Texas.
Okay,
I hate
wow,
USC.
wow, okay,
And I really a fifth. It depends who it is. Like I don't like Oklahoma. I don't like Florida. I don't like. I don't say I don't hate Georgia with a passion. It's just like all of a sudden they're back. They're
right,
worse. They're worse than Texas fans right now, bragging, which they have the right to brag for those trophies right now.
right, right. Well,
I
if we're
don't.
going by total disdains, real quick, yeah, as I mentioned, Florida, I hate with a passion. Notre Dame, I hate with a
Oh, I
passion.
don't like Notre Dame either. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
Catholic. I'll occasionally root for them, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like y'all don't play for shit.
And I tired of hearing about their brand, the brand, which is why they're not officially in any conference when it comes to football. They got this little pseudo quasi thing with the
Yeah,
ACC,
yeah,
but yeah, they're not
they have to
officially. Yeah,
play. They have to play a minimum of 5 ACC games if they want to stay in the
right,
ACC in basketball and shit.
right,
But,
exactly.
I mean,
So
I would love to go to their campus. I heard Notre Dame's a very beautiful campus. Like that's on my list of going. Them, Michigan, Florida State. That's like 3 campuses I want to go see next.
right, and then
Like
Alabama. I hate Bama.
I've been to their campus, but no, fuck them too. I've been to Ohio State's. But no, I got Michigan winning the Big Ten. You know what? Hell,
Okay.
Big 12.
Last year was actually pretty good, pretty surprising. They got some parity there in the Big 12. Once again, Texas is supposed to, finally, get back to the mountaintop, but once again, they have all that hype and hyperbole behind it, and it doesn't happen. So this year, I don't know. I don't think Texas is back. I think it's another surprise team. Hell, it could be K-State this year. I don't know.
They won it last year over TCU.
Right.
That was
So
a big shocker.
I don't think it's Texas or Oklahoma. So I'm gonna go K-State.
I would love nothing more than Houston to do it their first year, but I don't see it happening. Watch out for Baylor. Watch out for TCU again. But I feel like it's going to be out of Texas or Oklahoma because it's their last ride in the Big 12. They're going to have one of them go out, and they are so riding high on Texas right now.
Yeah, which is why, I think they fall flat.
Which I'll pick Texas, but I don't see them going to the playoffs.
Okay.
Pac-12 might as well get the grave ready, but before they're all gone. But just give me one for the Pac-12 right now.
Surprisingly, SC didn't win it last year. Utah has won 2 years straight. Oregon is there. Bo Nix, your transfer from Auburn. With the Ducks, I don't know if they got the stamina or the firepower. I like Utah. Utah has proven that that they can hang with those guys. But I think SC, Caleb Williams, they kind of come out this year on top of the Pac-12.
At first I had USC as my pick to win the Pac-12, but how they struggled with San Jose State in the first half, I threw that out the window. I am stuck with Utah or even Washington
Oh,
to win the
wow. Okay.
Pac-12.
Nice.
I'll probably go with Utah, but I'm gonna put Washington as a sleeper.
Okay.
And of course, you got to save the best for last. The SEC.
Georgia is not going to three-peat, Marcus. I'm going to start there. So it's not going to be Georgia. This is going to be a hell of a year for the SEC. There's so much talent. You really got some quality programs on both divisions, both in the East and the West. Even though y'all gonna take the L on Sunday, you know what? I think LSU comes out. They win the West again. They find a way. They battle. Not a big fan of Brian Kelly, but I think that they come out. They come out the West. I don't like Bama, and Georgia's not going to three-peat. So yeah, LSU takes the SEC.
Well, whoever wins the LSU Bama matchup usually goes to Atlanta. Whoever wins is going to play Georgia. And it's going to be out of them two. Since I'm always picking against Alabama, I have LSU winning the SEC. But if we don't win that game over Bama, Bama will win another SEC title. And this is going to – I might have two different sets here, but do you have a college football playoff bracket prediction?
Yes, I do, actually.
I have like two.
Okay.
But you go first.
So obviously, Florida State – because we're going to win the ACC, so we're there. We're locked in. LSU.
Okay.
Michigan. And SC.
Okay. Who you have in the championship game? Are you going to stick with Florida State, or are you going to try and see like a different side or different way?
Championship game will come down to Michigan versus Florida State.
That'd be a good matchup.
Florida State wins the national championship.
Like, as much as I would love Brian Kelly to do what Kim Mulkey and Jay Johnson did in year two, it's going to be very, very difficult. I would love for it to happen, but something tells me if we do make the playoffs, like either way, I sort of see two SEC teams going in. I can see LSU and Georgia going in together with like a Michigan and Florida State. Or if we don't make it in the playoffs, I could see Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Florida State. Or if Ohio State don't get in, I could see possibly USC getting in.
Right.
But either way, with a national championship, I have Michigan playing in it either way. It's either going to be Michigan versus Georgia, Michigan versus LSU, or Michigan versus Alabama.
Okay.
It will be an SEC team in it versus Michigan.
Got it.
And if it's Georgia, Michigan, Michigan's going to win it. If it's Michigan, Alabama, it could go either way. But I would root for Michigan, but they all riding on Alabama to win another one.
Right.
And of course, if it's LSU, I never pick against LSU.
Of course.
But I'm worried. Something tells me if they make the playoffs, they could fall. But they could go to the championship and win or lose. But I would love for them to go all the way. But something would tell me they can, because his main goal is just getting them to the playoffs. They can get in, but they could lose.
Right. And it's something about that battle in the SEC. You know, that's a hell of a gauntlet every year. And to come out, you know, of the SEC, you know, you're usually battle tested, but then you played a lot of really good quality football and tough football. So to your point, if LSU was able to win the SEC and go through the playoffs, they may fall somewhat short. But I think it's going to be a hell of a run.
Yeah, well, that will do it for tonight. Todrick, thank you again for joining me at the last minute. It was a pleasure. It's so hard finding Florida State fans, and wish me luck next week because I got to find a Grambling fan for next week when we host them. I mean, when we start talking NFL, I got a Titans fan ready because we played the Titans week 1. But real quick, before we go out, where can we find you on social media?
I'm on Twitter. You can follow me at TodrickG1906. Once again, shout out to the bros, A5A. But definitely follow me there. And when we get back going, you know, me and Freddie have our podcast. You may follow us also at TBA talking about it all. So yeah, thanks for having me. This has been fun.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
Can't wait to come back.
Oh, absolutely. We'll definitely have to work something out, especially if maybe LSU and Florida State could be playing in a New Year's Six or a playoff game down the road again. You never know.
You never know.
Let's see. I've only been to LSU. I've seen LSU, Florida State twice in 2 different sports, and Florida State won both games. I went to that regional softball game the year Florida State won the national championship. I went to I went to game 2 where we lost and y'all punched y'all tickets to Oklahoma City.
Right.
I was at that game.
Nice.
And then a year later, I was in New Orleans watching us not doing what we were supposed to do, and then blew a game in our own dome, our home away from home,
right?
Where it looked like we had more fans because Baton Rouge is just down the street, but it looked 50-50. Florida State brought a lot of fans in that dome that night.
We traveled well. We really did. And it, like I said, it was funny because obviously there's a pseudo home game for you guys as far as LSU goes. But
this will be suitable for y'all as a home game,
right? So it could be revenge. It could be a changing of the flipping of the coin there. But Orlando, we're gonna be rocking. The Seminoles will be in effect. So,
are you going to the game?
No. Unfortunately, no. I have a big crew over for the game on Sunday night.
All right, hell yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna cook myself and watch it here because no way in hell I was gonna travel to Orlando, especially with that hurricane in the state right now. But I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at MarcusLee337. The show's on Twitter at SAT Sports 89. Subscribe to my YouTube to watch these shows anytime on demand, powered by StreamYard. Big thank you to our proud sponsor, W Energy. Use our code SAT Sports to get 10% off. But Todrick, enjoy the game. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend. Good luck this season. I'll be tuning in to games all season long, and we'll see who makes it to Houston come January. Thank you again, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Y'all enjoy y'all Labor Day weekend. Have fun. Be safe. Enjoy it while it lasts. Thank you, guys. Y'all take care.
All right.